He stood in front of the cameras, tears in his eyes, begging for his family to come home. But here is what nobody knew in that moment. His pregnant wife, his 4-year-old daughter, his 3-year-old daughter were already buried at his work site. He knew exactly where they were because he put them there. This is the story of Shanann Watts, 34 years old, 15 weeks pregnant, a mother of 2 little girls she called her whole world, and the husband who smiled at the cameras while carrying the weight of what he had done. This is the Chris Watts case, and nothing about this is what it seemed. From the outside, the Watts family had everything: a 5-bedroom house in Frederick, Colorado, 2 beautiful daughters, Bella, 4 years old, and Celeste, 3. A baby boy on the way. They had already chosen his name, Nico. Shanann was vivid, warm, and loved by everyone who knew her. She documented her family constantly on Facebook: birthday parties, holiday photos, videos of the girls dancing in the living room. Chris seemed devoted, quiet, steady, the family next door that everyone admired. But behind closed doors, something wasn't right. In the weeks before she disappeared, Shanann had been confiding in close friends. The marriage was in trouble. Chris had become distant, cold, emotionally somewhere else entirely. She had been away on a business trip to Arizona, and before she flew home, she drafted a speech she planned to give him. She wrote, "I try to fix things and make them better, and this is making me crazy." She was trying to save her marriage. She had no idea her husband had already made his decision. And this is where things start to change. Because while Shanann was in Arizona trying to hold her family together, Chris was on a date. He had been having an affair with his co-worker named Nicole Kessinger since July. He had told her he was separated, that the divorce was almost finalized. He had been living 2 completely different lives, and the night Shanann came home, he was going to end one of them. At 1:48 in the morning on August 13, 2018, a neighbor's security camera captured Shanann arriving home from her trip. Chris was awake. He later told investigators he woke her and told her the marriage was over, that he had been having an affair. Shannon's response was straight through him. She told him he would never see the children again, and in that moment, Chris Watts snapped. He strangled his pregnant wife to death in their living room. 4-year-old Bella walked in. She asked what was wrong with mommy. Chris told her mommy was sick, that they were going to take her to get better. He wrapped Shannon's body in a blanket, loaded her into the back of his work truck, put both girls in the back seat, no car seats, and drove towards the oil field where he walked. 45 minutes. Shannon's body on the floor behind him, his daughters still alive, sitting quietly beside her, and they were allowed to continue because no one knew yet that anything had happened at all. Later that morning, Shannon's friend Nicole Atkinson tried to reach her. No answer. She texted, she called, she drove to the house. Shannon's car was in the garage. Her shoes, the ones she wore everywhere, were still by the door. Nicole called the police. When officers arrived, Chris was there, calm, cooperative, helpful. He said she just vanished, that he came home and nothing was here. Then he stopped talking. No calls to Shannon's family, no public statement, just silence, until a neighbor came forward with something. A neighbor's security footage showed Chris loading something large and heavy into the back of his truck in the early hours of August 13th. Police sat Chris down and showed him the footage. He watched. He said nothing. The next day, August 14, while investigators were circling, Chris Watts stood on his front lawn and gave a TV interview. He looked into the camera, voice cracking, eyes wet. "Shanann, Bella, Celeste, if you're out there, just come back. This house is not complete without anybody here. Please bring them back. The world watched, and most people believed him, but the police weren't finished. On August 15th, they brought him in for a polygraph test. He failed, and the moment they told him they knew about the affair, he asked to speak to his father. In the interrogation room with his dad beside him, Chris Watts finally broke. He said he killed Shanann. He came home and his family was already gone. Investigators drove to the Anadako oil field where Chris worked. They found disturbing earth near a cluster of oil storage tanks. They started digging. Shanann Watts, 15 weeks pregnant, was found in a shallow grave. But the girls' search team looked everywhere. Then someone noticed the crude oil storage tanks. The openings were only 8 inches wide. They drained them. Inside, they found Bella and Celeste. Chris had forced the bodies of his daughters into separate oil tanks, his own children. The courtroom went silent when those details were read aloud. The whole world went silent. Chris Watts was arrested on August 15, 2018. He was charged with 5 counts of first-degree murder, including the unlawful termination of Shannon's pregnancy. On November 6th, he pleaded guilty to everything. Shannon's family chose not to pursue the death penalty. They did not want any more deaths connected to her name. On November 19, 2018, the judge sentenced him to 5 consecutive life terms. No possibility of parole ever. The judge called it perhaps the most inhumane and vicious crime I have handled out of the thousands of cases I have seen. But the story did not end there. In February 2019, investigators sat down with Chris in prison for a 5-hour interview. He finally told them everything. He described driving to the oil field, his daughters alive in the back seat, their mother dead on the floor. He told them that Celeste went first, and that as he turned to Bella, she looked at him and said, "Daddy, are you going to do to me what you did to Sissy?" She fought back. Her last words were, "Daddy, no." He was 33 years old. She was 4. Shannon's parents, Frank and Sandra Ruzek, sat in that courtroom with their eyes fixed forward. They read their victims' impact statements, while Chris stared at the floor. He never got an apology. They never got an explanation that made sense. They buried their daughter, their unborn grandson, and their 2 granddaughters all in the same week. Chris Watts sits in a maximum security prison in Wisconsin today. He has received hundreds of letters from women who say they find him attractive. He has found religion. He has blamed Shanann in handwritten notes, and Shannon's parents wake up every morning to a world without her in it. He was not a monster anybody saw coming. He was the neighbor, the husband, the father who smiled in the photos, the man who stood on national television and begged for his family to come home. This is what makes this case so hard to look away from. Not the crime itself, but the performance, the ease of it, the fact that for one full day the world believed him. Shanann Watts deserved better. Bella deserved better. Celeste deserved better. And little Nico, who never got the chance to take a single breath, he deserved better too. This has been Verdict After Dark. Subscribe, because next week we go deeper.